topic today that has been a big discussion in the Scott household over the last couple of weeks. We're talking about kids and cell phones.
Yeah, it's a topic we have definitely covered here in Family First before, and we most definitely will cover again at some point.
Absolutely, but this time it's about problems you may not have thought of before, issues that could come up down the road from continued repeated device use, and a lot of it has to do with dopamine. Our bodies and brains are wired to release the feel-good pleasure chemical when we take a bite of delicious food, after we exercise or hang out with friends. For children who've never known a world without the internet or cell phones, they're experiencing more of it at younger ages. Larry Blackwell, a family therapist in West Hartford, says kids are getting that mini shot of dopamine with texts, likes of a picture on Instagram, and snaps. And the more they get it, the more they want it.
It's not bad, but if we can't wait for it, if we can't tolerate, just holding off frustration tolerance, it becomes a problem. And that is kind of, again, what happens with people who end up developing substance abuse. They want to change their feelings. And so right now, the phone changes their feeling. I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling depressed, anxious. Pick it up, I feel different right now. But it's an external change. You haven't learned how to go and manage it internally, and that's the risk.
Blackwell says because of excessive device use, kids aren't learning to process their feelings and deal with their frustrations the way previous generations have. He also says that kids are also turning to their phones for instant gratification, and they're quicker to lose interest in other activities.
They're bored, and that's where the danger comes, because if you don't know how to fill that time with something else, it is priming you for bigger problems in life, whether it's substance abuse or impulse control problems. Will you blow up at people or won't be able to tolerate stuff happening at work and saying, I need to be gratified now.
Blackwell says families have to work together to get it under control. He suggests that parents take an active role in managing devices, stay educated on what the dangers are, and most importantly, have conversations about it as a family. He suggests having regular timeouts from devices if it's at dinner or family time, put the phones away in another room in a basket. Also, a lot of what Blackwell says, it makes sense, but it's not really what you're thinking about initially when your kids are using the phones or the iPads or the computers on a regular basis. Because the kids today, they have not known a world without cell phones and without the internet. So we really kind of don't know long-term effects. I mean, we didn't grow up with them like they do, like they are.
And when you mention dopamine, it is not so much just the cell phone and tablet use to me. As the first thing I thought of were the games, the apps.
Sure.
I don't want to say it's any particular game or app, but a lot of those developers are very keenly aware of how that works. And they're designing their games to make them a little bit more like slot machines in the way that it keeps you coming back with short, small bursts of gratification, that dopamine hit. So it is being exploited to a certain degree. It's not just happening incidentally.
Because that's something that he mentioned. And for other kids whose interests are more on social media, they get that little burst when they get the likes on Instagram, when they get the Snapchat, and they're sort of learning to value themselves by how many likes they get, how many followers they get.
Which is why some of the bigger programs are starting to eliminate the like system, like Instagram saying, you know what, maybe this is something that only you see and not your friends see, so that it's no longer a competition.
But I'm also suspecting a lot of those social media companies will, how they refresh your feed, and it's always different every time.
Yeah, the algorithm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So you keep pushing down to try to refresh it, try to refresh it.
I mean, he says you just have to keep having the conversation.
And that was the key point that
your kids, and not just saying the cell phones are bad, but it's having an open conversation and pointing out ways that cell phones have made our life better, but also taking the time to collectively talk about ways that maybe cell phones are causing problems.
You have to
and
talk
to have
about
everybody involved in that conversation.
You have to talk about the responsibility, because nobody else is going to have that conversation with their kids. So it's up to you as a parent. And also, by the way, we never say this, get tips from friends of yours, other parents. My daughter's complaining she's the last one on the block that has a cell phone. She's going to get a cell phone soon. But I've had these conversations with other parents. What's worked, what hasn't worked, how on top of it are you? And I'm kind of studying all that at the same time, because it is a wild, wild west, as I call it. And and in terms of our kids, which we're trying to protect, it can be scary. So. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.